Well, people see it as the fact that how they have SGA over Nicole.
I think Nikola Jokic is the best offensive player in the world, probably the best basketball player in the world right now. I think he improved as a defender. I think statistically the metrics will show that, especially advanced metrics, that he is an above average NBA defender, maybe even a plus defender at this point in his career.
Right now, Ciro is going to rank his top 10. You can join along on fanrankings.com. All you got to do is go to fanrankings.com, hit the contact us page, send me a message, let me know you want to rank. And your rankings, Ciro's rankings, my rankings. I did a previous episode with Best in the Game TV. His rankings, like all of our rankings, are going to come together, and we'll do an end of the season video. Okay,
let's go.
Let's start off with your number one player.
So number one, I think it's gonna go. I'm gonna go. Ooh, look, I think SGA is the MVP, but I do think Jokic is the best player in the world.
Okay.
So I think Nikola Jokic, just what he's able to do, being one of, if not the most efficient basketball player of all time, and the position he's able to put the Denver Nuggets just by being on the court and as an improved defender, I think is huge. Number two is SGA. I think that is apparent. And again, if we're doing it for this year specifically, I think
this year
again, SGA MVP, we saw what he was able to do. Wins as a champion. He was also finals MVP. I think that's self-explanatory. But for three, I'm putting Giannis Antetokounmpo. I really feel like this year, Giannis reclaimed his mantle of being the Greek Freak. And not saying that he wasn't, but I felt like the year or two or three, it felt like there was like a longer than normal championship hangover. And it's not like anybody thought Giannis had fallen off or anything, but it wasn't like the Bucks were in every game that Giannis was there, regardless of who was on the floor the past 2 years, until I felt like this year. As long as Giannis was healthy, it didn't matter who was beside him. So that's why I have him at three. Coming in at four, man, this is where it gets difficult, because I think the fourth best player, it could have been a lot of people. Throughout the year, there was a stretch where I think Jason Tatum looked really good. Jalen Brunson looked good. Curry looked good. Edwards looked good. But they all also either got hurt or had cold stretches. So, man, I think I am going to go with Brunson, clutch player of the year. Okay. He just an absolute engine, small guard in terms of like normal stature, but thick, just muscle hamster who can get into the paint with deception and create angles. And I think is like super fun to watch and has just evolved his craft to a high level. Coming in at four, I think.
Pause. Hold on.
Yeah.
Pause real quick. Let me add Brunson. I don't have Brunson.
Oh, you're fine.
All right, real quick.
Yeah, no. We're good. I can fill the air with some Brunson love. So Jalen Brunson, though, this year just as an absolute weapon for a Knicks team that I know a lot of people are going to say when you go into the playoffs, if you saw the on-off numbers, I believe, it was below 100 defensive rating when Brunson was off the floor and Towns was on the floor, I believe, or Towns and Brunson were off the floor and the rest of the offense was on, or the rest of the team was on the floor during the playoffs. And then when it was just Towns, it might have been like a little bit under 100 or like 105 defensive rating, while they had either Brunson on the floor or Brunson with Towns. It was exponentially over, I think, like 118, 120 defensive rating, just really porous defense. And I understand that, like, especially in the pick and roll, Brunson is a like horrendous defender. And do I think part of that is because of how much he gets run into the ground offensively? Yes. Do I think part of that Tom Thibodeau's scheme didn't put him in a position to really, hide him or limit his mismatch hunting other teams would do on Brunson? Yes, because I think Thibodeau expects you just to guard and just to play through that. I think whoever becomes the next coach will do a better job of alleviating the hole that Brunson gave you. Because in a normal coaching scenario, you would have Brunson guard the opposing team's worst ball handler. or not ball handler, worse shooter, worse scorer that's non-center and maybe non-forward. So you'd probably put him against the wing or a shooting guard. And if they're playing OKC, you'd put him against Lou Dort. Why? Because Lou Dort is a streaky, inconsistent shooter. Even though he's grown, you would just have Brunson on there on defense. And then that way, if they wanted a mismatch, they would have to run a Lou Dort, Shea pick and roll, which isn't as effective as running a J, obviously in this case would be Isaiah Hartenstein or Chet Holmgren pick and roll with Shea, because you would rather have your big man run the pick and roll than a wing. So that's like obviously what you would do, while Tom Thibodeau would just have him guard straight up Tyrese Haliburton or Andrew Nembhard to get cooked, because that's what Tibbs wants. Like that's how he expects your players to play through that, and it kills them. So I think in the regular season, though, Brunson was the reason why they were in so many games. Now, I know some people are going to act like Karl-Anthony Towns is better, but I think Brunson contributed more to raising the floor of his team. Well, I think Towns is more of a sweetener, if that makes sense. So,
no, it makes sense. Yeah, I gotta ask you something. So looks right now you have 4. You have Jalen Brunson, and I see that's your first American player. Like, do you have any thoughts on the international players? I know overall, I mean, the U.S. we dominate basketball, but when it comes to the best players, it seems as though that because I don't know who your 5 is. We want to find that out soon. But right now, to your top 4 is 3 out of 4. They're international stars, international players. So any thoughts on it? Yeah, go ahead.
First, is this only regular season, or can I count playoffs?
We're counting everything. Okay. Playoffs, regular season, playoffs of 2024-2025 season.
So I definitely would go, man.
I mean, any thoughts on it? Yeah, any thoughts on just like how this is playing out regarding international players that are like?
Do I feel like players? Now? Do I feel like I have Brunson too high? Okay, I'm gonna take Brunson off of 4, and I'm gonna replace him with Tatum. Okay, and either way, it's still an American, and my 5th was gonna be Anthony Edwards. So 2 Americans. Now to follow that up, I think the biggest thing with American basketball is kids are specializing in terms of at a young age, they're not cross training anymore. Like growing up, I played multiple sports, but as I got into middle school and high school, especially because of the cost, my parents made me choose one sport. And a lot of these guys, because they're so good, they're playing year-round hoops. While in Europe, they're playing a bunch of sports, and a lot of them grow up playing soccer or football because that's the sport at hand. So it teaches them really good footwork. I think the thing with overseas and international sports, and I don't want to like harp on AAU because there are really good AAU coaches, and AAU is how so many kids get scholarships. And if it wasn't for AAU, like a lot of people would not be in the league, would not be in college basketball. But we run these kids. Basically, I heard, as someone who's been able to go to Europe the past 2 years, to go to Eurocamp and just in general, just be able to have relationships with European scouts, there's a lot more, I guess. I don't want to say the wrong word, but I guess they really harp or really make sure to drill into these kids the fundamentals in terms of, and this is so obviously known, but like they don't go and just run scrimmages and have the kids play through their mistakes, or just go to people don't realize this, when you play AAU or even like club soccer or something, you go to like Gettysburg, or you go to somewhere in the DMV on a Saturday, you drove 5 hours there, you show up there 10 a.m., you play a game, you watch other teams play, then you run another game at 2. If you win both games, maybe it's a knockout, and now you've made it to the championship game. So at 7 p.m., you got to play a third game, 3 games at 12, 13, 14 years old. Like they don't do that in Europe. Like they make sure when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, you're running like, drills and stuff. Yeah, you scrimmage maybe once a day or a couple times a week, but scrimmaging is later. Like we're making sure you know how to run the sets, you know how to read the floor, know that your jump shot's good, not just having these kids just get reps in through playing.
Oh yeah, I visited some AAU games, programs, and it's just up and down. It's just playing. Just yeah, I don't see the set plays like that. I don't see a lot of things you mentioned. So oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's just knowing that, just having more. I think it's more structured in Europe, and that's the different thing. While AAU, it's just I don't want to say there's people just trying to make money off the kids, but they're just taking them to these, doing what everybody else, just taking them to camp, play a bunch of games, take them to the next camp, and just have them play through their mistakes instead of like actually drilling the proper technique in.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. All right. So thank you for working with me on that one. Wait, yeah, Jason Tatum and did you say Anthony Edwards?
Yep.
All right. So you can talk about is Jalen Brunson on your list though? He'll be later on down, right?
He'll be later. Yeah. I have him a little bit down.
Okay.
So right. Tatum, Edwards, and I'll have Halburn. I think all three of these guys are their team's, cogs to their engines. First off, Tatum, this guy has just been like what 3 years now, snubbed of being a top 3 MVP candidate. It almost looks kind of sort of like how Shea was the best player on the best team, which was Tatum last year. And I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves. He's a guy who can guard every single position. He's the prototype of what people want as a forward. He's a guy who can be a secondary facilitator. He's a primary scoring option. He's able to, hit shots in crunch time. And I just think over time, his game's become more efficient and it's become less, talked about because it's just like a surgeon. He goes in, does what needs to be done, and his teams get the win. And regardless of what his stat, this is a guy who some nights would be their like point guard, some nights would be a double machine, some nights would be a 30-point per game scorer. It's just the versatility they have and Tatum. And that's the other thing, him getting the Achilles injury worries me less than someone like Halburn, because athleticism is just a perk with this guy. His game isn't rooted in being a high flying athlete.
Yeah, now, Tatum is definitely no. I was just saying you're right. Like he's really smooth when it comes to his game, like very smooth individual. What were you saying?
So yeah, and then Edwards. I think Edwards has gone to this MVP level. It started all last year when they went in that playoff run. Problem with Edwards is I don't know if it's a maturity or an emotional intelligence thing or just just being young. Like this is a guy who's a year or two younger than me, and when you're at, or 3 years, when you have the weight of a franchise and all these things, I know like he's had all the baby mama drama, but there are stretches where Anthony Edwards is the best basketball player in the world and does things that only the best basketball players in the world can do. And those peaks are so good, but then there are moments where he disappears or he has blatant mistakes that cost his teams, wins. And that's something I think he's still growing through. That's why I have him at like 5.
Okay.
Now,
yeah. For regarding Edwards, do you think he's shooting too much? I mean, regarding just the 3-pointers. Because at first, I thought he was just shooting compared to last season. I thought he was shooting too much, and then he kind of shut me up because he got his team that far. But then I see Shea, and I'm like, man, he needs to go back to getting to the basket more. He needs to go get those mid-rangers going. He needs to be a threat, because it's so easy if he makes it or misses it. You know what I'm saying? It's still, the defense is still, they get a little breather versus Shea. What Indiana had to throw 3-4 different guys at him just to slow him down. And I feel like Edwards is doing a bit of a disservice himself. I know his 3-point shot has been improved and it's been excellent, but I just see more can you get back to the basket more? Can you scare these guys? Can you dunk on somebody a little bit more? Scare them as much. I think, like you said, he is. I feel when he's on the court, I feel like he's the best player in the world. But I just feel like he's holding himself back. I don't know. What do you think? I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think it's the whole problem with him getting downhill like he had in the past. I have no problem taking the threes. I think right now he's actually on pace to end his career either second or near Curry. And if he continues at this rate at how many threes he makes and attempts, to be maybe the second best 3-point shooter of all time statistically. So I don't have a problem with that. He hits them at a high rate. Now, would I like him to get more downhill, draw more fouls? Because, like you said, you get to physically impose your will on on the opposing team. You can get them scared. You get your teammates hype, and you boost morale. Those all things I think are great. But you have Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert is killing your spacing in that sense. And the same thing goes with Julius Randle. So, especially that now Karl-Anthony Towns isn't there. I think as long as Gobert is there, he'll not be able to be that downhill threat that you're talking about unless in moments where Gobert isn't on the floor, because Gobert isn't quick enough, especially now, to move out of the way. And Gobert is suited to be the center to gobble up all those offensive rebounds that come off of the, those volume 3-point shots he takes to then get easy buckets for himself or to kick it back out for another 3-point shot and just create 2-point chances. This team is structured for him to take those shots. It's not structured for him to be a downhill player like Shea.
Okay. No, it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. All right. You're number 6. I heard you say Tyrese. Am I wrong on that one?
Yes, Tyrese. If we're going with playoffs, I think Tyrese Halliburton has just been an absolute menace. He's someone who's played at a level that I think is just incredible, regardless if you think the stats are not. Just the edge. I know defense is a little bit of concern, but arguably one of the best passers in this game. Him, Trae Young, and Jokic are probably like the 3 best passers in the NBA right now. Not counting Chris Paul, because Chris Paul isn't in his prime anymore. So, yeah, Tyrese, I think that's really right there. Coming in at 7, man, this is where I have to decide between J-Dub, Towns, Pascal Siakam. Because I'm a really big Pascal Siakam guy. Love me some Pascal Siakam. I think he's probably one of the most... Yeah, let's go Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam is a pass, dribble, shoot guy who can obviously... guard 1 through 5. He can start a fast break, finish a fast break going coast to coast. He can shoot lights out. He's an NBA champion. And for a large part, until the playoffs, Pascal Siakam was the best player on this Pacers team and someone that I thought was incredibly underrated. So going there, what we have, 6, 7.
7.
All right.
8.
8, we're going to do Karl-Anthony Towns. I think Karl-Anthony Towns was a revelation. Behind Jokic, he was the second best offensive center in the NBA. As someone who grew up watching the Timberwolves, this is everything we wanted Towns to be. Just physical, imposing, being a facilitating hub out of the low post and the elbow. Also just being not only a shooter, but just an aggressive scorer who gets to the free throw line and just dominant rebounding. It's wild. He had his best rebounding year since I think he's rookie or second season. So then at 9, I'm going to do J-Dub, the counterpart to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He is probably the second best forward or wing in the NBA right now behind Jason Tatum. I don't think if we're counting Edwards as a 2 guard, then yeah, I think J-Dub is someone who can do everything, can score from all 3 levels, facilitate, defend, all defense level, and be on any other team a primary option. On this team, he's a secondary option just because they have the luxury of that. And to round out my 10, I'm going to go Jalen Brunson to go for everything I said earlier, and that's going to be why I have him at 10. The reason now I want him at 10 is because I think everybody else in front of him is significantly better defensively, and I know I Karl-Anthony Towns technically in front of him. Man, and I just did that because I think in the playoff, Towns was a bit more valuable at times than Brunson.
Okay. So right now, number 1, Nikola Jokic, 2, SGA, 3, Giannis, 4, Jason Tatum, 5, Anthony Edwards, 6, Tyrese Halliburton, 7, Pascal Siakam, 8, Karl-Anthony Towns, 9, Jalen Williams, 10, Jalen Brunson. I was pretty amazed how Jalen Williams was, not just this series, but this whole season. And for you to put him at 9 is, it's an eye opener because what we were, little inside baseball. When we were emailing back and forth, I told you, I feel like we're entering a new era. I feel like not isn't I feel like I think we all know this is a new era. This is your favorite players that the past 10 years, they're getting older. They can't carry the team like they used to, and things of that nature. And all these young guys are coming up, and I see Jalen Williams up there, and I feel like he's going to be here for a long time. If everybody opens their eyes, I think everybody sees it too. Like he's legit. He's 24 years old, and if we do this next year, I could actually see him being a little higher. So yeah, this I'm pretty excited about Jalen Williams. We have a comment. Brunson needs to trust his teammates and move the ball more if he wants to be in the MVP conversation. There's no I in team. Just one of the reasons the Knicks fell to the Pacers. So do you have any comments on that?
I think there's a plethora of reasons. I think Mikal Bridges fading away from every shot doesn't help. I think Jalen Brunson defensively, I really am not going to nitpick Jalen Brunson offensively. He's kept them in the game a lot, but defensively, I said this earlier, I think that was a large part Tom Thibodeau's failure as a coach, because he doesn't hide his guys on defense. A good coach would have hid Jalen Brunson. And I'm not saying Tom Thibodeau isn't a good coach. I'm saying a coach who understood his personnel, and Tibbs' style is ride or die, and a coach who understood how bad of a defender Brunson is, probably like a Jason Kidd. And I'm not saying Jason Kidd's a good coach, it's just because Jason Kidd had coached Jalen Brunson prior, would have put, as I said, let's say they're playing the Thunder on Lou Dort, while Tibbs would have told him just guard Shea and figure like they're going to ride or die on that matchup. So I think a big part in that is having a coach who's going to be able to, optimize your strengths and hide or minimize your weaknesses. And I think that's what you have to do if you're a contending team, especially if your star player has a flaw.
All right, Gigi, thank you for your comment. Before we leave the players part, because we're going to move on to teams. When I talk to some folks, or things that people I listen to, the deciding factor between SGA and Nikola throughout the season was defense. On one side, I see, hey, Nikola has the stats on defense, but visually he's getting outplayed versus SGA. Like he's the all NBA defense and things of that nature. So regarding defense, do you have any thoughts on that? The deciding factor, what people see as the deciding factor, how they have SGA over Nikola.
I think Nikola Jokic is the best offensive player in the world, probably the best basketball player in the world right now. I think he improved as a defender. I think statistically the metrics will show that, especially the advanced metrics, that he is an above average NBA defender, maybe even a plus defender at this point in his career. I think a combination of voter fatigue, and this is what I think. MVP historically goes to three types of players. The worst player the player that typically gets it, that maybe causes the most controversy, is the narrative MVP. Your Russell Westbrooks, your Joel Embiids, maybe even your Derrick Rose, because a lot of the narrative is partially fueled by voter fatigue being LeBron James, not, voters not wanting to give LeBron James, I think, a third consecutive MVP it would have been, or was it third? Would have been. Either way, LeBron, if you look at the numbers, more probably could have gotten that one, or Marc Gasol, Zach Lowe, I believe the one was who brought that one into existence, winning Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, Russell Westbrook with the triple-double, Joel Embiid complaining his way into a MVP. Same thing, Marcus Smart with the defensive player. I'm being like a little bit facetious and joking right there because they were deserving of it, but that's the narrative one. Then there is the best player in the world. Usually they might be in a top 5 team, a top 10 team in the NBA, but they are significantly the best player in the world. Yeah, Giannis, I think they were still a top 2 seed, and even same thing with Jokic, but the third one, which I think is usually how it has been for most of the history of the NBA and for most sports, it's the best player on the best team. And I think that this year you give it to Shea, regardless that Shea, yes, technically is a better defender, but he's also on the best defensive team, while the Nuggets by far are not the best. I think they might be in the latter half of the league in defense this past year. I think that if you look at it like that, we're maybe going back to one of the ways, which is, the best player on the best team gets the MVP because that is the most valuable player, the guy who, fuels the best team.
Go to fanrankings.com to rank, to be a part of the Power Rankings, and a chance to win prizes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to support the channel.
Thank you for watching.